What do you think you can control about your blood vessel? Nothing. You can't do anything about your blood vessel.
But what you can do is to be aware of how blood pressure affects your blood vessels and learn ways to manage it.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful day. June 8th. Today is the 8th day of the 30-day challenge. Hope you guys are still walking with us. We had a great week last week talking to you about all the things that you can control about your blood pressure. And this week, we're going to deal with things that you cannot control regarding your blood pressure. So hope you will watch it every day and do your walk daily. This morning, I already did my blood pressure. As you saw, it was a little bit high. It just happens. Could be the dinner last night. It was kind of salty. So today, our topic is going to be on the blood vessel. What do you think you can control about your blood vessel? Nothing. You can't do anything about your blood vessel.
But what you can do is to be aware of how blood pressure affects your blood vessels and learn ways to manage it. So on this topic, I'm going to go over 3 things about blood vessels. 1, what is systolic and diastolic? 2, what does it mean when only one of them is high? And 3, what can happen to the blood vessels when high blood pressure is left unattended and is high for a long period of time? Okay, the first one. Blood pressure, as we know, measures the relationship of pressure when your heart beats and when it rests. When the heart squeezes and pumps blood, the blood exits the heart and enters the aorta. The aorta is the largest blood vessel in the body, and it carries blood and oxygen to the rest of the organs. As the aorta gets further and further away from the heart, the size of the blood vessel gets smaller and smaller. Now imagine a water hose. When you turn on that faucet, the pressure is highest at the turn or the first kink. As the water flows through the hose, the pressure changes, and the difference between our blood vessel and the water hose is that our blood vessel is a closed loop system, which means the volume of blood that gets pumped out eventually goes back to the heart. Now we all know blood pressure is made up of 2 numbers, a top number called systolic and a bottom number called diastolic. Let's talk about the top number first. One way you can remember systolic is squeeze. That's the amount of pressure on the blood vessel wall when the heart pumps. That number should be around 120, and anything over 140 is considered high blood pressure. That means when the heart squeezes, the blood pushes against the blood vessel wall at 120 millimeters per mercury. The other number, the smaller number at the bottom, is called diastolic. Another way to remember is the denominator, like in fractions. This is the constant pressure of the blood pushing against the blood vessel wall. This number should be averaging around 70 and below 85. If above 90 constantly, it is considered a high blood pressure. And now that you know what these 2 numbers mean, let's talk about what happens when only one of them is high. When the systolic is high consistently and diastolic is normal, you have what they call isolated systolic hypertension. It could be due to arterial stiffness, hyperthyroidism, diabetes, heart valve problem, or obesity. In that case, you're at a higher risk of intracerebral hemorrhage, subarachnoid hemorrhage, basically mean brain bleed, and angina, which is a consistent, predictable chest pain, meaning it almost always happens when you do the same certain activities. Now, when your diastolic is constantly high and systolic is within normal limits, that's called isolated diastolic hypertension. And in this case, you're at a higher risk of abdominal aortic aneurysm. All of which have to do with blood vessels, not the actual heart organ itself, which is why I'm bringing it up so you are aware of it. Now the third and last one. What happens to your blood vessel wall when your high blood pressure is left unattended for a long period of time? You see, hypertension is also known as the silent killer because there are really no symptoms. We're going to talk about potential symptoms next week, but most people wouldn't think neck pain or headache have anything to do with blood pressure. What's worse is that people don't even know that they have high blood pressure. So when do you think it would be a good idea to check your blood pressure or ask your loved ones to check their blood pressure? So, after learning and hopefully gaining a new understanding of what happens every time your heart pumps, you can see how this internal pressure can put additional strain on the walls of the blood vessels. Our blood vessels are designed to be elastic, but with poor diet, plaque buildup from poor diet, smoking, lack of exercise, lack of nitric oxide, these walls get brittle, weak, and can develop aneurysm or maybe even rupture like mine did 10 years ago. So how soon should you go see your doctor about your blood pressure? There's no standard answer to this because no one knows how long you've had these numbers. You've only just found out that your numbers are like this. But if you suddenly discover that your systolic is above 180 and diastolic is over 120, you need to sit down, relax, and check it again 5 minutes later. If that is still the case and you have no known reason to make it go up so high, you need to go to urgent care ASAP. Now, that's assuming you have the right size blood pressure cuff, right? We covered that last week. If your systolic is between 140 and 180, and your diastolic is between 90 and 110, consistently, you should definitely make your appointments with your doctors. So I encourage you, no, I implore you to please take care of your blood pressure. 80% of those who suffer from aortic rupture die within a few minutes. And 50%, that's half of that 20% that make it to the hospital, don't come out alive. I'm blessed to be one of the 10% that made it, and I stayed alive for 23 hours before they actually operated on me. I will never forget what the surgeon said to me afterwards. He told me there was blood everywhere when I opened you up. I guess there wasn't supposed to be any blood in my chest. So this is my message to you, and to everyone that have high blood pressure. Don't mess around. Get that under control.
And this concludes day 8 of the 30-day challenge. I hope we got a lot out of what we talked about today. See you tomorrow.